Mike Bobo was straight to the point with his old friend Kirby Smart by saying, "Let that cat go play," talking about Carson Beck. Here's the full quote. Ryan Curley joins me, Dean Leggy and Ryan Curley, as usual, on Riding Home. It says, "Well, your offense can only be as aggressive as the players around him." Talking about Carson. It's not all on the quarterback. And when you say that about cat go play, that really came more from Mike Bobo and his offensive staff in terms of allowing Beck to go play and play to his strengths. His strengths are his ability to navigate the pocket, to make throws, to change plays, and to get us in the right play. That's his greatest strengths. That's his greatest strength. And to use the weapons around him. So I think he'll continue to do that. He's done that so far. He makes you right a lot. The number one thing he says to me, besides "let that cat go play," which sounds totally like Mike Bobo, is he puts us in the right play. Ryan, that matters a lot for these guys. That's important to them.
Yeah, that's what being a good quarterback does is you throw people open. You can throw in the tight windows. We saw Carson do a lot of NFL stuff in his first year as a starter last year, whether it be, faking people off with his eyes or making kind of off balance throws. He threw all over the field, outside the numbers, inside. Um, he's what's going to make the offense tick this year. You can see more and more how this is leaning towards his shoulders. And
Yeah.
I think we discussed a little bit a few weeks ago about, who's the star on this team. And it's starting to feel more and more like that star is Carson Beck. This guy's favored to win the Heisman, right? Now the guy favored to win the Heisman almost never wins.
Well,
You can go through and look through history, but he's regarded as someone that's gonna put up those numbers and help them win games. Look, I expect him to be better this year. Do you? I mean, how much better is the question?
so just to recap, 14 game starter, went 302 for 417 with 6 interceptions, 72% completion rate, not quite 4,000 yards, 24 touchdowns. So that was 24 and 6 in terms of touchdown to interception ratio. He was averaging about 282 per game, so yards. That's a lot of production, particularly from a Georgia team that likes to be balanced. That typically means you're getting something close to that on the ground, which that's a lot on the ground, to be honest. And he is a slight. Well, he and Quinn Ewers are both the favorite right now at plus 750 to win the Heisman Trophy. Do I think he's going to get better? Um, so all I know is that when you look back at the final year or the third year um, of guys with Mike Bobo, well, actually, more specifically, the first year of starting with Mike to the second year of starting with Mike. So when you look at Matthew Stafford, '06 to '07, well, I mean, Aaron Murray from 10 to 11, huge jump. Uh, those two guys in the Georgia lexicon are the only ones that, because Hudson was a 1 year starter and Joe Cox was a 1 year starter in there. If you want to go from the David Green from '01 to '02, I will allow that argument, but Mike was not the offensive coordinator at the time. So often you see these jumps. There was a lot of change this past season. That's not occurring this time, Ryan. I mean, you have the same offensive coordinator, you have the same defensive coordinator. These things, that wasn't the case coming into 22. In 23, they also have more change. 24, they don't. They're not replacing coordinators. How good is Carson Beck? He's as good as Matt and I were talking about this time a year ago, and I think he could be, in theory, even better. I think he is fully capable of winning the national championship and winning the Heisman Trophy. I would not be surprised at all if he did both.
It's possible. It's possible. It's interesting because this position is usually not what is one of the best handful on this team,
You're talking
right?
about the
And
quarterback
yeah,
spot. Yeah.
the quarterback spot, just throughout Georgia's history, it's usually not one of like the three or four best players on the team, and that's just the case right now. And it's
Yeah.
going to be on him, more so than maybe it was on Stetson or on Aaron or on other guys in the past. Going back to what you said about the balance, it was not as balanced last year. It
No.
was a little bit more pass heavy, I expect similar output this year. I don't know why they would go away from that. I don't. I think that the running back room can be more stable. I don't think it's necessarily a lot better, right? There's going to be more bodies, right? If everyone's healthy, there's going to be more capable bodies this year, but I don't think it is taking like this huge step up, right? I don't know how much of a jump Trevor Etienne is from Kendall Milton.
Yeah, we don't
Just
know. We'll
just
see.
putting that out there. I don't think it's a significant jump as far as who your lead guy is, but a good player. So I do think it's going to be this passing game that is what sets them apart.
Hey, let me say this though about what you said a second ago about it's not on the it's not on the quarterback usually. Do you remember saying that a second ago?
No,
Talking
I
about
didn't mean it like that. I mean, obviously a lot's on the quarterback, but
at the end of the day, if you're going to be a championship team, your quarterback has to make championship plays. And I really don't want it to be that every time I get on here and talk about Jake Fromm, it's like me saying bad things about Jake Fromm. So I will hedge that right now by saying they would not have played the national championship without Jake Fromm doing what he did against Oklahoma. Period. That last drive was great. The reason why Georgia won the national championship in 21 was because Stetson Bennett made championship plays against Alabama. Period, and against Michigan. I guess I don't remember those as well.
they
Uh,
dominated Michigan.
huh?
They dominated
Yeah,
Michigan.
they slashed them against Ohio State. Stetson made at least one absolutely total brain dead throw, and he had one pull that with Kenny McIntosh scores a touchdown. So those two plays, but a guy that's going to be handling the ball that often, if you have two mistakes from him in the game, you're okay. He made play after play after play in the third and fourth quarter to win them that game. So, and even though he went too fast at the end of the game, he made the plays that they had to have, and we got a great shot out of it at the end anyway. But Carson, for me, man, Carson proved at Auburn he has the spine to get through this thing.
I think he proved it a couple weeks before that against South
Well,
Carolina.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. You saw the SEC inside. He's winking at people.
Yeah, I
He's
forgot about
chill,
that.
as he always is. But they go out there and immediately,
That's the
uh,
way he is, by the way.
yeah,
That's actually the way that Carson Beck is. It's hard to and he's been like that ever since I met him when he was a junior in high school. I mean, that's just the way he is.
yeah. They that was the first real adversity he had faced was in week 3 against South Carolina last year. They were down at halftime. I can't remember what the score was,
They were down
but
10.
it wasn't a crazy second half, right? They didn't just come out and explode on them, but they came out and they were better, and they were obviously the better team, and
Yeah,
they had cut away a lot of sloppiness. They just didn't really finish them into the ground in the fourth quarter the
correct.
way you would have maybe liked. I don't know how much it really mattered
So
in
they
the end.
came out and scored probably on their first drive in the third quarter, and then soon thereafter, they were down 10 at the half. They scored 14 points in the third quarter, and Carolina did not score in the second half. Georgia scored 14 pretty much right out of the gate. By midway through the third, Georgia was up 17-14, and then in the fourth quarter they scored with 9 minutes to go to get up 10. Now I'll just say this, and I'll let you keep talking. It didn't feel like the game was over to me in the fourth quarter when they were up to 10, because I felt like with what Rattler could do, South Carolina had the ability to hit some big balls, and Woodring had a tough day that day. And so there was that as well. But they kind of walked the dog against them. They didn't play well, though, at all.
No, no, they weren't good that day. But you're right. That Auburn game was the first time he really had to gut it out, and
Yeah.
he made the throws. Right, Brock Bowers was making the catches, but he made the throws and he made the reads, and he was very very good in that second half. And um, if he wasn't, they wouldn't have won. Right. As much as we want to give, and rightfully so, Brock Bowers a lot of that credit because he made freaky plays and he took that last one to the house. It was Carson Beck was the one that was delivering the football to him. And if any one of those throws was a little less accurate, maybe they don't win that game.
Yeah, I mean, he was 23 for 33 for 313, the touchdown to Bowers. But it wasn't just those, man. It was the third down throws to Ladd, I think, a couple of
Hmm.
times.
Hmm.
And maybe to Love It, I can't remember. But Georgia really had to get that game out. He got sacked 3 times in that game.
They had to overcome a turnover. I
Yeah,
mean, they
yeah. Seemed like they had 3 turnovers in that game. I remember getting that wrong in the post-game press conference. They couldn't run the ball. They only had 109 yards, 107 yards rushing, and so he picked them up with 313. Look, I think the other thing here is to and Mike and Kirby have known each other for a long time, but you got to trust your offensive coordinator to tell you what he thinks is true, and yeah, I think it was the right call to cut Carson loose and not kid glove him anymore. And it saw them. They narrowly missed out on the playoffs. And that won't happen this season. But I think Carson Beck is the reason why they're going where they got to go. Thanks for watching.